motion. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the meetings for April 26th.
I'll make a motion that we approve meetings from April 26, 2018.
I'll second it. Aye.
Say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. We have a conditional use permit for a major home occupation for a handyman at 680 North Main for Kenneth Christopher Harker.
Mr. Harker's here, and as he's coming up, I'll just do a quick presentation and introduce it. Just on the north side of Main Street, right near the Layton border. Mr. Harker's address is there in your packet and here on the map that you can see. Just looking to do handyman business. We've talked to him about kind of the scale and what that means. Typically, they're limited from what contractors would normally do. So you're talking smaller jobs, hand tools, power tools. Most of us probably have in our garage that he'd be using for most of those things. He does have storage on site to do that. Based on reviews of the property and conversation with him, staff's recommending approval without additional conditions. But as you can see, he's here. If you've got any questions of him or myself, we'll pass it back to you, and happy to take those at this time.
How are you doing?
Great. How about yourself?
Yeah,
Good.
thanks.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I know Ken, and I don't think we ever talked. I don't think he knows that I'm on the planning commission. So how's it going?
I think he does.
Okay. Yeah. Now. Yeah.
I
But
and I saw your face. I was like, oh my goodness, there he is.
yeah. So
There's our bishop.
I don't have any, obviously, at least personally, I don't think I have any bias here that would affect my decision making. No financial stake in any of this or anything. So just on the record.
All right. Questions? No?
Nope, I don't have any. Pretty standard.
Yep, it is. I'll move that we grant conditional use permit for major home occupation B handyman for Mr. Kenneth Christopher Harker at 680 North Main Street, Lot D12.
I'll second it.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thanks.
Good
Good
luck.
luck.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, a conditional use permit for life coaching for Susan Greenwell at 93 North Havenwood Drive.
Okay, I don't see Miss Greenwell, so hopefully I can represent her. Maybe she's hiding back there. But she's built a new home in the Hill Farms development on the west side of town. And the request is essentially do the life lessons that are kind of longer appointments, but speaking with her and kind of understanding how her business works. She's got clients nationwide, but she does stuff over the phone or by Skype and things, so not too many people come to the home. When they do, it's one-on-one by appointment. And she's also got, with the new build, she figured because the appointments are so long, they built extra parking essentially on site to accommodate that. So she anticipates the clients would come in, park at the home. Should have little to no impact, in my opinion, on the surrounding neighborhood. So with that understanding, staff's recommended approval without any additional conditions.
So is that a depiction of where they would park?
You can see the house there in the dirt. No, yeah,
Yep, that's
it's one of the rare loaded lots.
It looks like there's plenty of space.
Yeah.
No home.
Not going to
space.
disturb anyone, right?
No.
Yeah, they've got the park space out on the east side of the property, and then it's the rear loaded lots that are you'll see over in Hill Farms, and just got a long driveway back there behind the alley and the garage space. That, but yeah, even on the street, of course, there's room to accommodate, but she doesn't anticipate that's where they'll be.
Well, it's very minimal impact
Yeah.
for her own business, so.
Is Susan here? Oh, you said that she wasn't. Okay.
I'll move that we grant a conditional use permit for major home occupation B for Susan Greenwell at 93 North Havenwood Drive.
Second. Oh, what?
Aye.
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 Okay, we have a conditional use permit for residential child care at 390 West, 175 South for Lori Paleto.
Okay. Well, she's coming up. Lori is here with her helper in the back, and I've met with Lori on site at her property just near Gailey Park, west of us here on 390 West, 175 South. And she's just moved into the area. She's worked in daycares before, has a great space within the house, the kind of the basement level with the proper ingress and egress. It looks to be in good order to run and operate a daycare operation there. You can see the typical restrictions. The state monitors these and does some licensing and certifications on it. And so based on the restrictions that are imposed through that, and from my observations, we're recommending approval, again, without further conditions. The limitations we see fit are those imposed by the state.
So you do have your license with the state?
Yes.
Okay. You know, I heard something. Are you required to have insurance or notify parents that you do or do not have insurance?
It has to be in your contract if you don't carry it.
Okay. I heard that more states were requiring
Yes,
that.
they are.
Okay, good. I think that's important.
Yes.
I think outside of that, there's probably no issues here. I mean, if it's all in compliance with the state, parking's not an issue because they're just dropping off, right? I mean, parents aren't staying, right? So,
Yeah, and on that corner lot too, there's, for the quick drop-off, there's quite a bit of curb and area.
Makes it easier.
Where people can pull in.
I'll move that we grant conditional use permit for residential child care for Miss Lori Paleto at 390 West, 175 South.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, another conditional use permit for farm animals at 61 East Coburn Circle for Heather and Joseph Swarens. Aye.
So we'll introduce Heather here.
Oh.
It's been a while since we've seen one of these, so you're going to have to brush up the dust. We haven't done as many farm animals in recent.
We like farm animals.
Yeah, the property is just right on the northeast edge of town, the edge of the cul-de-sac there. You can see it's a pretty large property, over half an acre in size. Based on the requirements of the ordinance, they can have as many as 4 goats. I don't believe they anticipate in keeping all that many. The yard's completely fenced in. They're anticipating putting in an extra fence within that for not letting the goats roam everywhere within their yard, and so you can have the double containment. We did get a call this week. Someone else in the office just said that, FYI, I guess there's a little spot in the fence where dogs are getting under, so just make sure the goats don't get under there too. Apparently they're okay with the dogs, but we know goats like to eat things, so haven't inspected it and seen the property. I don't have any qualms or concerns that that's not going to be an issue, that'll be taken care of. So based on that, we're recommending approval as proposed, and happy to take questions.
Okay, so I assume you're Heather. And what is your name?
Dylan.
All right.
Glad to have you here. Are you going to help with the goats? Good.
I did receive, and I'm sure probably everybody else did too. I can't imagine I was the only one that received it. Was the email? You guys all got that?
I don't know that I got one.
Did you? Gary?
No.
You're kidding me.
I don't think so.
Oh.
I don't remember getting one. Maybe you
You
were
must be the
I
most
must be smashed.
goat
or something.
sensitive, yeah.
I did receive an email from one of your neighbors that was concerned about the full enclosure of the yard and noise abatement. So, I mean, there's obviously goats make noise. I mean, that's something that you can mitigate that, I suppose, as much as you possibly can. However, the fence being enclosed in that, I mean, that's probably something, your yard being enclosed, I should say, is probably, and Andy and Lyle did discuss that, so probably make sure that that's all in order and stuff.
Because it's kind of on a hill.
Yeah,
There's a full fence,
right.
but there's like a over and then it's kind of a straight drop off.
Right, I know where you're at,
So
yeah.
Dogs, what we've done is gotten like chicken wire.
Uh-huh.
Buried it. So
Sure.
they can't dig underneath the fence, and then next year, as soon as we can get a contractor out to do a fences next year, in April, they'll be coming to do in addition to that other fence, a vinyl
Okay.
fence as well,
All right.
so.
So I guess just kind of keep an eye on things and stuff and do whatever you can. So, outside of that, that was about it. So.
I didn't realize that that little piece was in Kaysville because it's unincorporated outside for most of it. It's interesting. Cul-de-sac right there.
Yeah.
You're included here. Nice.
Okay.
Well, I will move that we grant a conditional use permit for farm animals for Heather and Joseph Swarns at 61 East Coburn Circle.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
luck.
you.
Conditional use permit for a model home and development sign at 92 North Flint Street for Symphony Homes.
Okay, so, excuse me, getting a frog. Symphony Homes has essentially finished the subdivision where this is located, the North Fork Estates, but they've asked to keep a model home open at this site for the, I'm going to get it wrong, the Old Farm subdivision just north of Phillip Street. They've just begun building homes there. And so the model home here on site, they're hoping to keep it in place to advertise for that. And you can see a picture of it here. The issue that I noticed was the banner signs. They've already been taken down by Symphony. The other signage and size requirement and placement seem to be in good order from my observation and measurements. And so with that, staff's recommending, again, as a temporary use to allow the model home for a period of 1 year. Often I'll put in the stipulation or until all lots are sold. They mentioned that Symphony is much building as they do in town, so while they're primarily advertising the Old Farm subdivision, they've also got Sunset Equestrian that they're building. They've got new subdivisions coming in off Flint Street, Angel Street, excuse me, that has recently been approved. And so they may potentially go beyond the Old Farm the lifespan, assuming all those lots are sold for those other subdivisions. And I was thinking on Flint Street, not really smack dab in the middle of the neighborhood. It's almost more of a commercial corner than a residential spot, as close as it is to 200, that it was my opinion not to necessarily restrict it to the lifespan of the Old Farm development. But should you choose, we've put that in other ones that cut it off sooner than a year if you think that's appropriate.
Okay.
I personally like just do it a year and then they come back again and
Yeah,
ask
well,
for extension if needed.
But isn't the question's not the extension, the question is
If
whether...
it's sold
if
prior to.
If it's sold prior to, and then it just becomes a billboard. So my sense is if it's a development sign, that it should be tied to the duration of the development. So I would say let's do it so that the conditional use expires when they're sold the last house in this development. Otherwise, it's just a billboard that's on
So
somebody's
it'd be to grant
1 year or
okay.
whichever is...
I'm good with that.
Sure.
Yeah, and they could always come back and ask for permission otherwise, right? So,
So
Sounds good.
sounds like a
You
motion.
good to go? Okay. I move that we grant a conditional use permit for model home and development signs for Symphony Homes at 92 North Flint Street on the condition for 1 year or until the last home is sold in this development, whichever is sooner.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay, we have a conditional use permit for sale of liquor for consumption on the premise of limited service restaurant for Ken, and I'll let him introduce himself.
so they're coming up. We'll give the short and sweet of it. So the Mandarin Cafe, located just off of 200 North and 3rd West. Ken is looking to purchase that and help not take over Mandarin Cafe, but do a new restaurant in that space. As a portion of that, they're hoping to be able to serve essentially beer and wines, is my understanding, along with their food and other services at the restaurant. The way that our ordinance is set up, once you have the alcoholic service in there, it does require a conditional use. The state has some specific limitations on where that can come in, so he's currently working with the Division of Alcohol and Beverage Control, or DABC, on that portion of it. And we just need to make sure, among other things, that it's not too close to, got to look at the term here, community location, so park, church, library, that type of deal. So you can see the measurements here, both as the crow flies and walking distance from the front door. We've verified that it's in compliance with the requirements of the state. You can maybe talk more about the restaurant and what they expect and how that would work, but from our observations of staff, everything's in good order. We would recommend approval simply based on the condition that he completes his licensing and requirements with the DABC at the state level.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we may have some questions from you, if you don't mind.
What kind of restaurant are you thinking to turn it into?
Sushi, Japanese restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
Have you had a restaurant somewhere else, or?
Yeah, we have 2 restaurants in Orem. We have Japanese sushi restaurant and also ramen shop.
Okay, good.
Great.
And this isn't contingent on the conditional use, but how do you say? That was faster than I expected.
Notice how I bypassed it.
You know, being able to pronounce your last name is going to shy us away from somebody making a motion because we're going to butcher the name.
We'll say the Ken part and you fill in the rest, and then we'll go on.
And what's your background?
Graduate from BYU with economics degree.
Oh, no, I mean your cultural heritage.
I'm from Mongolia.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is great. I bet it's very good food.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Do we have any other restaurant in Kaysville that serves?
Does Wingers does it?
Wingers.
Wingers and,
Wingers does.
Just kitty
and
corner
Davis
from them. And,
Golf Course.
Yeah.
And Davis Golf Course.
Yeah, that's
Oh, that's true.
that's
Fruit Heights.
unincorporated.
So just the
Fruit
one
Heights.
so
Yeah,
far
just
in
the one.
Kaysville, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I if it meets criteria and you get licensed, I don't have any issues with it.
No.
I have zero issues with it, and in fact, I think I just maybe wonder maybe staff's just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. It's like if we put the condition that's suggested in the staff report, that's kind of like saying do what you're already required to do.
It's true. Yeah, it is a little redundant. That we will require that he has that in place before we finish the business.
Whether
license.
we put it as a condition or not.
Sometimes it clarifies
Okay,
steps
yeah.
going
Yeah.
forward.
Just a reminder.
And quite frankly, I think the whole radius state law thing is a
It's
little
overkill.
ridiculous.
It's
but
ridiculous. It's overkill.
Yeah, so-
so
let's just throw that in there.
you know.
Is that part of the motion?
So we're glad that you passed on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we grant conditional use permit of sale of liquor for consumption on the premises of limited service restaurant for Mr. Ken, good, at 242 North, 300 West.
I'll second that. Aye.
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 We're
Aye.
glad to have you.
Yeah, that'll
Thank
be
you.
so great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can't wait to try it. The sushi.
You are so funny.
Okay, we have a public hearing and a preliminary plat approval for Shady Brook subdivision, Lot 4, amended at approximately 600 North Hills Farms Lane.
Property is located down on the northwest side of town. It's highlighted here on red, just off Angel Street. This property is actually preliminary platted with part of the Hill Farms, with cul-de-sac and 3 lots in the back. They've modified what was preliminary platted a little bit, but same concept. Extend the cul-de-sac into the property and plat 3 additional lots, leaving the existing home on about 2 acres. Each of those lots are over 20,000 square feet. Pretty straightforward. It's a preliminary plat. Meets all the requirements. So we need to have a public hearing. I'm sure there's a lot of public here on this.
Okay. If you don't mind, we'll go ahead and have a public hearing. Well, I don't think you have to go very far, but we officially will open that if there's anyone that would like to come up. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And come on back up.
It's really a pretty piece of property. I had already looked at it in the past, and just beautiful.
Thank you.
So how big these lots are? I mean, these are
big.
These are huge lots.
These are nice
right?
lots.
They're all over 20,000.
Like 31,000. I mean, it's so small I can barely read it. 31,000,
Property's
25,000, 20,000. Is that right? Am I reading those right? That's,
Yes.
That's correct, yes.
Good.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Good deal. I don't have any objections.
I don't either.
To it at all.
I don't think
No.
you're going to have any problem when you develop that to sell those.
No, we you know, my parents live there, of course, so they don't want anything controversial. So,
No, but it
pretty
meets,
straightforward.
it meets all the requirements and everything that we're doing out there.
Okay,
Deal.
take a motion.
Yeah, I move that we grant, or that we recommend approval for the Shady Brook subdivision, Lot 4 amended, preliminary plat approval for David Ferber at approximately 600 North Hill Farms Lane.
I'll second.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Okay, we'll do a call to the public if anyone would like to come up.
Come on, Mom's encouraging you there, Boston Red Sox. Let's go. Actually, your Red Sox are playing right now as we speak, right?
Okay. We'll do the correspondence.
Yeah, that's the end of the call to the public. If you want to close that, then we'll we're just back on normal meeting schedule. I shot out an email today, so just a reminder, Saturday morning, the 19th, if anyone's interested, Quality Communities Academy, not mandatory, but if you think it'd be beneficial, but probably some good things for you. They do broadcast it at the USU Center here in Kaysville. And then I've also got one I'll be sending around. I forget the date off the top of my head, but watch your email just regarding the Land Use 101 that the luau does. I think a couple of us have been to it. I've attended that one myself, and again, they'll broadcast that here. Yeah. So it's a quick trip just down the street and back for a couple hours. And anyway, the city's happy to cover the registration on that for those of you who would like to participate, if you have the time.
So you just want us to respond to your email if we want?
Yeah, just let me know if you're interested in doing it.
Okay.
If I haven't heard anything, then I'll assume that you're not available, so that's fine.
So May 24th, next meeting, right? 2 weeks from
Correct.
today. Yeah.
And I have an item. I did not know when my term ended, but just recently I asked, and it turns out not only is it your term that ends also? I am also up. My term ends, Emery, June 18th? So, end of June, by the end of June. So the June 18th is, I guess, my last meeting or something like that.
Whatever the last.
Yeah, I don't know why that date stuck in my mind. But anyway, so it just caused me to reflect on my amazing, wonderful experience being with all of you and some of those who came before you to learn and really enjoy learning about all of the city's planning and zoning. And believe it or not, I kept my original application. I had a copy of it. And I feel like a little bit of protectiveness over the application process. I thought it might be interesting to just remind you of what, if they haven't changed it, what it says, because, you know, if you're losing Josh, you got to make sure you have somebody that is going to put down what they have to fill that seat over there. So
Maybe.
That's only your first.
It's still a maybe.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have until I think close to the end of the month to decide.
Okay.
And even then, I have to submit an application like the rest of them, I think. So.
And is that true now? When we have a term finishing, we also go back into the reapplication process?
The way the ordinance is that the mayor determines the process with approval of the council.
I think they recently discussed this.
So over the last several years, the mayor has come to the council and said, this is the process I recommend for selecting new appointments or reappointments to the planning commission, and they've typically been requiring everyone to apply.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to reapply last time, too.
Okay, too.
So,
I didn't.
No, I know you didn't.
That was with Mayor Hyatt, right? So in theory, it could be different.
Well, I didn't.
I think
first
there's been
one.
a
This is
couple
my third
times.
one. The second one, I didn't have to. The last one, I did. So.
Oh, hey, wow.
There.
It's like you just
We can-
magically appeared.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we developed a process. It's very similar to Mayor Hyatt's when he 2 years ago, I think. And so there's an application available online, or you can pick it up from Anne Marie. I currently have 4 applications right now, and you just need to get it to me by the 22nd. Then I will send all the applications to the council members for them to review, and then based on feedback, I will do interviews, and then we will make a decision, and I will make a decision, present it to council for their ratification. So that's the process.
Is it May 22nd?
It is May 22nd,
So yeah, coming right up.
right? All right.
And I'm just curious, is it the same application that they've had for years?
Ask Anne Marie.
Changed it a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
So the questions were on there. Other boards or committees you'd be willing to serve?
Except that we don't have any other board. Power Commission, there you go.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I think
right.
too, some of it's probably civic, any community events, if you want to participate and help with 4th of
help the
July.
That's
Parade.
true. There are the civic events.
There's 20-something civic events every year, and that need good volunteers from the community, and
When someone's
those
willing.
things aren't possible without community involvement and the volunteers. And so I think that's part of it too. Is have you served on any of those? Are you willing to serve on them? And I think that's an important process personally to for this position, even city council, is community involvement and giving back to the community and volunteering, serving on whatever you can, whether it's appointed or strictly volunteer.
I absolutely agree with you, Gary. This will be my 11th year that I've chaired the parade, and I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah.
In fact, to be quite frank, when I first moved here, that was when then Mayor Nika Roundy, I went and talked to her as soon as I moved into town, and I'll tell you that chairing a parade, which at the time I thought, whatever.
How hard can it be?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not, I thought a parade, wow, great. But, I mean, it's really, the folks you meet and the civic engagement, the civic involvement of it all, that's absolutely amazing.
Oh, it
So
brings out the best in the people too. And
It
when
does.
you look at the
It
hours.
absolutely- and the worst, too, sometimes,
Well-
just saying. So,
Yeah, that's right.
What are you referring to?
the litany of emails and phone calls I get, starting on the afternoon of July 4th, but, so. But yeah, it's being civically engaged is, it's paramount, without question.
So that's one question. The other is, why are you interested in serving in this position? And then another question, what experience do you bring to this position? So there's more. Do you have any special skills or expertise applicable to this position? And then educational and occupational background, and then anything additional information you would like to provide. So I guess it's pretty thorough. Maybe there's not really any other magical question. I just had never looked at it again since that time. And it's just good to review applications now and then. So
Well, obviously the process works because you all are amazing.
it's a great
Yeah, it works good
commission.
enough. You even came back after leaving. I remember my first commission. Well, I wasn't a commissioner yet. You were just leaving as the chair to go to law school.
It was a short stint, so I thought
Yeah.
I got to come back. So
Actually, I'm trying to think. I may have filled your seat.
there you go.
I can't remember.
But you've been here a while.
I really like the variety of backgrounds is really great. I'm sure. Mayor Hyatt was the one when several of us were appointed, and it seems like he was cognizant of having, we have handled 2 attorneys on this commission.
Wait, handled? Is that what it is?
I think
They handle
What it
us.
feels like.
Okay.
And one expounds, and the other is wanting to stop the expounding, which is so funny. But I
Just be quiet over
Josh,
there.
are you the one stopping me?
but I think it's just really nice to have at least one attorney on, and then the various different things. It's worked out well. Hopefully, it'll always attract people of the various different backgrounds.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, okay, what about our calendar?
We're covered there, so we'll see you in 2 weeks on the 24th.
Okay, all right, nothing more.
Move we adjourn.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and congratulations on your MBA, or your MPA.
MPA, yeah, thank you.